The sky over the dead world had not changed color in 300 years. It stayed gray, heavy, and quiet, like it was holding its breath. Ancient sensors still floated in broken orbits, watching nothing, reporting to no one. The galaxy had forgotten this place. But today, the sky began to move. A shadow crossed the clouds, wide enough to cover mountains. Heat followed it, gentle but deep, like a sleeping fire waking up. The Dragon Queen had arrived. Velaric's thren circled the planet once, slow and silent. Her wings did not beat hard. She did not roar. She did not announce herself as she once had. Long ago, her arrival meant fear, fire, and surrender. Now, it meant only sorrow. She landed on a plain of black stone where cities had once stood. Towers were broken down to bones of metal. Roads had melted and cooled again. Nothing lived here anymore. That was why she had come. This was the last place her young had been seen alive. Velarix folded her wings and lowered her great head. Her scales were dark red, cracked with age and loss. Small lines of pale light moved under them, slow and weak. A queen still, but a tired one. The galaxy knew her as a destroyer, a ruler of flame, a living god of war. But none of them had seen her like this. She opened her inner sight, reaching into the past. She remembered the signal. The distress call. Her child's voice, thin and afraid, calling through broken space. She had crossed half the galaxy in rage and hope. She had arrived too late. There had been no body. No answer. Only silence. The Dragon Queen lifted her head and released a long breath. The air shook, but nothing burned. She was done with burning worlds. Fire had not saved her child. Power had not saved her child. What good was a queen who ruled stars but could not protect one life? She stayed still, listening. Then she heard something. It was not a signal. Not a weapon. Not fear. It was movement. Velarix turned her head slowly. Far across the plain, near the edge of an old broken structure, something small moved between shadows. Too small to be a machine. Too slow to be a threat. Her first thought was memory playing tricks on her. This world was dead. Everyone knew that. But the movement happened again. She focused her sight. A human boy stepped into the open. He was thin, wrapped in worn cloth and patched metal. His boots were too big. His dark hair was cut uneven, like he had done it himself. Dust covered his face, but his eyes were clear. He held no weapon. No device. Only a small bag slung across his shoulder. He saw her. The boy froze. Every warning system still working on the planet screamed in silence. Any trained being would have run. Any soldier would have fired. Any smart creature would have hidden. The boy did none of those things. He stood still, breathing fast, hands open at his sides. Velarix felt it then. Not fear. Not hatred. Curiosity. It surprised her. She lowered her head just enough to see him better. One eye, larger than his whole body, watched him closely. She expected him to break. To scream. To faint. He did not. The boy swallowed and took one careful step forward. The ground trembled under the Dragon Queen's breath. Still, she did not move. Velarix searched his mind the way she once searched enemy fleets. She found no shield. No training. Just thoughts, simple and honest. Hunger. Cold. Loneliness. And beneath it all, a deep, quiet sadness. It felt familiar. The boy stopped a safe distance away. He looked up at her, squinting against the heat in the air. "You're real," he said softly. His voice was small, but steady. Velarix had not heard a spoken word in years. She had forgotten how fragile they sounded. "Yes," she answered, not with sound, but with meaning. The word pressed gently into his thoughts, like warm air. "I am." The boy's eyes widened, but he did not run. "I thought everyone left," he said. "But you came back." The Dragon Queen felt something twist inside her chest. "Back." The word carried weight. "I came too late," she replied. The boy looked down at the ground. He nodded once. "So did I," he said. Silence stretched between them. It was not empty. It was full of things neither knew how to say. Velarix studied him more carefully now. His body showed signs of long survival. Small scars. Weak nutrition. Old pain. This child had lived alone on a dead world surrounded by ruins and ghosts. "Why are you here?" she asked. The boy thought for a moment. "My family worked here," he said. "When the war came, ships left fast. There wasn't space for everyone." He paused. "They told me to hide. They said they'd come back." "They did not," Velarix said. No, the boy agreed. The Dragon Queen closed her eye. She felt the echo of another small voice calling into the dark. When she opened her eye again, the boy was still there. You're a queen, he said, looking at her scales, the markings of old rule carved into them. Aren't you? I was, she answered. What happened? Velarix looked out across the dead plain. I lost my young. The boy nodded again. Slowly, carefully, like the words mattered. I lost mine too, he said. The wind moved softly between them. Ash lifted and fell like grey snow. For the first time since her loss, Velarix Thren did not feel alone in her grief. And far away, unseen senses began to wake, recording something the galaxy would one day struggle to understand. The Dragon Queen did not burn the world. She stayed. The Dragon Queen did not move. She had stayed in one spot for hours, watching the horizon, listening to the wind, feeling the emptiness of the planet press around her. The boy, Iron Callow, had not left. He had not run. No human in the galaxy would have stood so close to a dragon of her size and power. Most would have fled the moment her shadow fell across the land. But Iron did not. He looked up at her carefully, his small chest rising and falling with each breath. Dust clung to his hair and clothes, and his eyes, bright and alive, stared straight at hers. They were not filled with fear. They were curious. Careful. Brave, in a way Velarix had not expected. You're real, he said again, his voice a whisper that barely carried over the soft wind. Velarix lowered her head just slightly so she could see him better. She studied his form. He was thin, barely past childhood, but his movements had a certain calm to them. They were careful, slow, deliberate. Not panicked. Not foolish. She sensed something in him that most humans lacked, a quiet courage that did not rely on weapons or armor. You should leave, she said, not with words, but with thought. Her voice moved in his mind like a soft push of wind. This world is empty. It is dangerous. Nothing survives here. Iron blinked, but he did not move back. He took a small step forward. I don't have anywhere else to go, he said. And? I wanted to see. To see what? Velarix asked. You, he said simply. I wanted to see if the stories were true. Velarix felt a faint warmth inside her chest. Stories of her had spread across the galaxy, tales of fire, fury, and death. Humans told them with trembling voices. Ships ran at the mention of her name. And yet, this small human boy had approached her, unarmed and unafraid. I am not the same as before, she replied. I am not the one who burns cities. I do not hunt anymore. Iron tilted his head, studying her scales, her eyes, the long lines of her wings folding over the black stone. Then why do you stay? Velarix's gaze drifted to the horizon. I am waiting. Waiting for something that is lost. Something I cannot bring back. The boy nodded. I know that feeling. She turned her great eye fully on him, surprised by the understanding in his words. The boy had lived through loss, through emptiness, and yet he had survived. He had endured the world's quiet cruelty without anger. His presence was not a threat, but a strange comfort. You are brave, little human, she said. Few would stand before me. I had to, Iron said. I have nowhere else. And I wanted to know if maybe someone else had lost too. Velarix lowered herself closer to him. Her massive head came near the boy, enough that he could see the reflection of the ruined world in her golden eyes. She felt the air of life around him, fragile yet persistent. You speak of loss, she said. And yet, you endure. That is something I have not seen in centuries. Why? Iron shrugged, the movement small but steady. Because if I don't, there's nothing left. If I stop, the world just ends. I can't let it end for me. Velarix listened. His words were simple, but their weight carried far more than any fleet of ships could deliver. This human child did not have her power, her size, or her fire. But he had strength she had forgotten existed, the strength to keep moving, to keep living, even when everything is gone. You are unlike any human I have encountered, she said. You do not run. You do not beg. You do not fight with weapons. You simply endure. Iron smiled faintly. I don't want to fight, he said. I just want to live. Velarix felt an unfamiliar thought stirring. She had mourned her lost young for decades, crossing star systems, confronting empires, chasing echoes of the past. And yet, in the quiet presence of this boy, she realized something strange. Perhaps she had been waiting not for what was lost, but for something that could still be found. The wind shifted. Dust lifted in lazy spirals, and the broken senses of the dead world creaked as if they, too, were watching. Velarix lowered herself fully to the ground, a gesture of stillness and peace. The boy did not flinch. He only stepped closer, careful, deliberate. "You are not like the stories," Iron said. "You don't seem angry." "Not really." "No," Velarix said. "Anger is empty. Power is empty. I have lost what mattered most, and nothing else can fill it." Iron nodded. He reached out a small hand, unsure at first, but steady. "Maybe," he said softly, "you don't have to be alone anymore." Velarix studied the boy's hand, then the boy himself. He had no armor, no weapon, no fleet. He had only courage, hope, and persistence. And yet, she felt the stirrings of something she had thought dead: curiosity, connection, and the faint glimmer of trust. "Do you know what you are doing?" she asked. "I don't think so," he admitted. "I just came here." "You could die," she said. "Any misstep in this world could take you." "I know," he said. "But I'd rather try than hide." For the first time in years, Velarix Thren considered a choice she had never made before. Not one born of fire, battle, or command, but one born of careful observation and curiosity. She could leave, as she always had, carrying the grief that weighed her down like stone. Or she could stay. She could watch this small human boy and see what he would do. Velarix shifted slightly, lowering her massive wings so they almost touched the ground. The boy did not move. He only looked at her, calm, alert, ready. "Very well," she said. "Stay close. But do not touch. The world is not safe for humans. Even one like you." "I won't," he said. "I promise." The Dragon Queen exhaled softly, smoke curling from her nostrils. It was a gentle heat this time, not a threat. The boy's presence did not bring fire or fear. It brought quiet, careful hope. And for the first time since her child was lost, Velarix Thren did not feel the crushing weight of the galaxy pressing down on her. She felt, watched. She felt, seen. And most surprisingly of all, she felt something like trust. Velarix Thren did not move for hours. She lay on the black stone, her massive wings folded, her golden eyes tracking the small human boy as he explored the ruins. Iron Callow walked slowly, touching the broken walls, running his fingers over shattered metal, pausing when he saw something that reminded him of the life that had been lost here. He did not run. He did not hide. He only observed. The Dragon Queen had seen many humans. She had watched fleets of them rise and fall, had battled soldiers, diplomats, and spies. But Iron was unlike any she had known. There was no greed, no fear that commanded his every movement, no desire to dominate. He lived simply, fully, and quietly. And in that quiet, Velarix felt something she had not felt in centuries: understanding. She lowered her great head closer to the boy and whispered thoughts into his mind, gentle and careful. "You are not afraid," she said. "I am," Iron admitted. "I'm always afraid. But I have to keep going anyway." Velarix paused. His courage was different from any strength she had known. Dragons had strength of scale, wing, and flame. Humans had strength of heart. They endured pain without weapons. They survived storms without fire. They faced emptiness without despair. "You have endured much," she said. "Why do you not break?" The boy looked at the ruined world around him. "I lost my family," he said simply. "The world ended for them. And if I give up, then it ends for me too. I have to keep living." Velarix felt a flicker in her chest. He spoke of survival not as a battle, but as a choice. She had known survival as war, as conquest, as dominance. Humans survived differently. They survived with hope. They survived by refusing to surrender to despair. "You are different from others," she said. "Your kind fights, they conquer, they destroy. But you endure." "I don't fight," Iron said. "Not anymore. Fighting didn't save anyone. Not my family. Not the others. I just keep going. I try to help if I can, I keep moving forward. That's all I can do." Velarix lowered her head to the ground, her breath warm on the stones. She had been so focused on power, on vengeance, on the endless chase of the galaxy's battles, that she had forgotten the simplest way to survive: to keep going. The boy did not command armies. He did not roar or breathe fire. He simply existed, simply lived, simply endured. "You understand loss," she said. "Perhaps you know it better than I do." I know some of it," Iron admitted. "Everyone loses something. Everyone. But some people give up. Some people hide. I just try not to. Velarix closed one eye, thinking. This small human had no weapons, no power, no fleet. He was fragile. And yet he carried more courage in one small body than entire empires she had ruled. And he survived. Why do you stay here? She asked. This world is empty. Dangerous. There is nothing left for you here. The boy looked around. I stayed because someone has to remember, he said. Someone has to know what was here. Someone has to keep the stories alive, even if the world is gone. And I wanted to see you. I wanted to know if someone else had lost too. Velarix studied him. The simplicity of his words struck her. He did not speak of revenge, or glory, or power. He spoke of memory, of care, of presence. Humans, small as they were, could carry the weight of worlds in ways dragons rarely could. You speak as if grief is not a burden, she said. It is, he admitted. It is heavy. But it's not everything. If I let it rule me, it wins. So I carry it, but I keep going. Velarix exhaled slowly. The ash around them moved in lazy spirals, rising and falling like smoke from a fire long gone. The boy's courage was quiet, but it filled the space more completely than her own strength had in years. You are brave in a way that is rare, she said. You do not fight with teeth or fire. You fight with life itself. Iron shrugged. I have to, he said. If I don't, then nothing matters. Velarix felt something new stir. She had mourned for decades, crossing galaxies, searching for a child she could not save. She had expected rage, or emptiness, or despair to fill her forever. And yet, here was this small human, teaching her something no empire, no fleet, no war had ever shown her, the quiet strength of endurance, the courage to live even when the world is broken. You teach me, she said. Without words. Without battle. You teach me that life is more than loss. I think we teach each other, the boy said, smiling faintly. I've never met a dragon like you before. I didn't think anyone would understand me here. Velarix lowered her head fully, bringing her eye close to his. I understand more than you know, she said. I have carried grief that burned like fire. And you carry it differently. You do not let it consume you. You survive it. You live in spite of it. The boy looked up at her, eyes wide. I try, he said. And in doing so, Velarix whispered, you give hope to more than yourself. Iron's small hand moved to touch a piece of broken metal on the ground. I hope, he said softly, that someone like you will not be alone either. Maybe I can help, even if I'm small. Velarix considered the words. She had been alone for centuries, feared and respected, but utterly separate from others. This human boy, fragile as he was, offered companionship not through power, but through persistence, through courage, through a refusal to give up. You are not just a human, she said. You are something different. Something I have not known. I just want to survive, the boy said. And maybe, help someone else survive too. Velarix closed her eyes. For a long moment, she listened to the boy's heartbeat through the air, the small life that endured despite all odds. And she realized something that had been buried beneath centuries of grief. Strength was not always fire. Sometimes it was quiet. Sometimes it was courage. Sometimes it was a small human boy standing on a dead world, refusing to run, refusing to hide, refusing to surrender. You have a brave heart, she said. Perhaps more than mine. The boy smiled faintly again. I think everyone can be brave, he said. Even dragons. Velarix tilted her head, considering him. In the silence that followed, she felt the first spark of a new thought, a new path. She had mourned for her lost young, and still did. But perhaps there was something else to do now. Perhaps she could learn from him. Perhaps she could survive, not just endure. The wind shifted, carrying ash in lazy spirals, and for the first time in centuries, Velarix Thren did not feel the crushing emptiness around her. She felt connection. And the human boy, small and fragile, had taught her that even the strongest of dragons could still learn from the smallest of hearts. The quiet of the dead world did not last. Far above, in the cold darkness of space, ships moved in careful formation. They were small compared to the Dragon Queen, but many. The galaxy had noticed her presence. They had seen the boy. They did not understand what was happening on this broken planet, and that made them afraid. Fleets from 3 distant empires approached slowly, their weapons powered but idle. They did not fire immediately. They did not signal their intentions. They only watched, waiting for a reason. The galaxy feared the impossible, a human surviving where none should, and a dragon who did not destroy him. Velarix felt the presence of the ships long before they were visible. The vibrations in the sky, the hum of distant engines, the weight of intelligence observing her every move, it was familiar. The galaxy had tried to control her before. They had failed. But she had not fought in centuries. She had grown quiet, focused on loss, on grief, on something smaller than conquest. The boy, Iron, stood beside her, watching the stars with wide eyes. He did not fully understand the danger above, only that the hum in the sky was different from the wind and the ash. "Are they going to hurt us?" he asked softly. Velarix studied him. She could not shield him completely from the galaxy's gaze, but she could decide what to do next. "Perhaps," she said. "But they have never understood. They have never learned." Iron took a cautious step closer to her. "Then we should show them. Show them I'm not alone. Show them you're not alone either." Velarix tilted her head. Humans had a strange way of thinking. They did not see power as dragons did. They saw it as trust, as presence, as proof. And in that, they were dangerous, not in strength, but in courage. The first ship moved closer, sending signals that could be read across the planet. Words came in thousands of languages, all asking the same question: remove the human. Return the dragon. Restore order. Velarix breathed slowly. Her wings lifted, not to attack, but to rise, stretching over the small plain. Smoke drifted from her nostrils, but it was soft, harmless. She was large. She was powerful. She could burn the fleet before they even reached the planet. But she did not. The second ship opened its hatch. Small craft descended, faster than the wind, moving toward the boy. Sensors painted his location clearly. And yet, he did not run. He stood where he was, breathing steadily, hands empty. Velarix lowered her massive head between him and the incoming threat. "Do not touch him," she said in thought, pressing the words into the minds of the approaching ships. They hesitated. They had never been commanded like this. Not by a single dragon. Not by a human. Not together. Iron looked up at her. "We have to show them it doesn't have to be this way," he said. "We don't fight to survive. We survive to live." Velarix considered him. Survival through fire, through force, through destruction, she knew it. Survival through presence, endurance, courage, she had not. And yet, the boy was teaching her. He was teaching her that fear did not have to decide the galaxy's path. The small ships hovered, scanning, calculating. They could not understand the quiet between the dragon and the human. They had no way to measure the invisible bond forming. They only knew it existed, and that unsettled them. One of the crafts moved forward, a small warning drone, intended to intimidate. Velarix exhaled slowly. The air shivered around her. Heat rose from her scales, but it was not fire to kill, it was presence. The dragon's size, the slow beat of her wings, the steady gaze from eyes older than the stars, all of it was a signal. Iron watched, calm. He did not scream. He did not move. He trusted her. That trust made the power she wielded different. It was not anger. It was not rage. It was something new, protection born from understanding. The small drone stopped in midair. Its systems calculated and recalculated. The galaxy's fleets had never met this. A human, alone and fragile, standing beside a dragon who did not attack, who did not roar, who did not threaten in the usual way. This was not dominance. This was courage in a new form. Velarix lowered herself fully again, placing her massive body between the boy and the sky. Her gaze swept the approaching fleet. "You will not touch him," she sent to every mind that tried to calculate her. "And if you do, you will fail. Not by fire, but by your own misunderstanding." Iron smiled faintly. "See? They don't understand us," he said. "They don't know humans can survive. And they don't know dragons can choose to protect instead of destroy." The fleet hesitated. Signals buzzed. Orders conflicted. They had never encountered this scenario. They had expected rage, destruction, dominance. They had not expected restraint, not expected quiet strength, not expected a small human who could stand without fear. Velarix extended one wing, careful not to touch the boy, casting a shadow over the plain. The fleets paused again, calculating. The Dragon Queen did not roar. She did not fire. She only existed, massive and alive, and the boy beside her stood firm. That was enough. The first ship withdrew slightly, uncertainty flashing through its senses. The others followed, confused, hesitant. They could not act. Not yet. Not here. Not while the dragon chose another way, and the human endured with her. Iron turned to Velarix. "They're learning," he said softly. "They're realizing it's not about power. It's about courage, about standing, about surviving together." Yes, she thought back. And they will not forget this lesson easily. They may try again, but they will know that fear is not the only path. Survival does not need war to exist. The fleet moved back into orbit, still watching, still cautious, but unable to harm the boy or the dragon. They had seen something new, something they could not fully measure. A human had survived. A dragon had protected. And the galaxy had no answer for it. Iron stepped closer to Velarix. "Thank you," he whispered. "I couldn't have done it alone." Velarix lowered her head, letting the smallest part of her nose touch the ground near him. "And I could not have survived this moment without you," she thought. "You have shown me something I had long forgotten. Strength can be quiet. Courage can be small. Life can endure even when the galaxy expects it to fail." The wind blew ash between them, lifting lightly, carrying the quiet lesson of the dead world into space. Above, the fleets remained, hesitant but watching, knowing they could not understand this bond, and that in itself was a kind of defeat. Iron smiled faintly again. "Maybe the galaxy will learn," he said softly. "Maybe one day, it will understand humans and dragons can survive together." Velarix exhaled slowly, a gentle heat that did not harm. "Perhaps," she thought. "Perhaps it will. And if not today, then one day. But the lesson begins here. With courage, with presence, with life itself." The boy and the Dragon Queen stood together on the black stone plain. The galaxy interfered, but it could not destroy the quiet truth they carried, that survival did not need war, that courage could exist without fire, and that life could endure in the most unexpected ways. And for the first time in centuries, Velarix Thren did not feel the weight of losses completely. With the boy beside her, she felt hope. The quiet after the fleets left did not last long. Velarix Thren watched the sky, still enormous and still alone, but with the boy, Iron Callow, beside her, the world did not feel quite so empty. He moved carefully over the black stone, picking up small pieces of metal and glass, remnants of a past life, reminders of what had been lost. He did not speak much, but his presence was steady, quiet, and alive. Velarix lowered her head to look at him closely. His eyes held something she had not seen for centuries: hope. Not hope for power, not hope for revenge, not hope for fear, but hope that life could continue, even in a broken world. That hope was contagious. She had mourned her young endlessly, crossing galaxies searching for what could not be found. And yet, here was a human boy, teaching her something no star system, no empire, and no battle had ever shown her: life could survive, even when it seemed impossible. "You are brave," she said, her thoughts gentle, like a soft wind brushing his mind. "I do not understand why you are not afraid of me." "I'm afraid," he admitted. "But I'm also alive. And I've learned that being afraid doesn't mean you stop. It just tells you to be careful." Velarix studied him. He was small, fragile, human, yet the courage he carried was stronger than any fleet or weapon she had ever seen. He had survived alone on a dead world. He had faced the Dragon Queen herself without fear. And he had done it without trying to dominate or destroy. "You are unusual," she said softly. "Humans are small, fragile, fleeting. Most would not last a day here, and yet, you endure." "I want to survive," he said simply. "And maybe, I want to help someone else survive too. Even someone like you." Velarix felt a spark deep inside her chest. She had lived as a queen, feared and respected across the galaxy, but never had anyone stood beside her as an equal, not by strength, not by fire, not by presence. This boy, small and fragile, offered something no empire or dragon could: trust. The wind shifted, carrying ash in spirals, and Velarix realized she had a choice. She could leave, as she had done countless times, carrying her grief across the stars. Or she could stay. She could stay and let this boy walk beside her, teaching her new ways to survive, to endure, to feel life again. "You have changed me," she said. "I thought I would always mourn. I thought I would always walk alone. But now, perhaps there is another path." Iron looked up at her, eyes wide. "Another path?" "Yes," she said. "One I never imagined. One I could not have found without you." He smiled faintly. "Maybe we find new paths together," he said. "Even if we're small. Even if we're not perfect. We just keep moving forward." Velarix lowered herself to the ground, resting beside him. Her massive body cast shadows over the ruins, but it was not threatening. It was calm, protective, present. And Iron did not move. He merely watched her, understanding without words that he had become something more than a survivor. He had become a companion, a teacher, and a spark of life that could guide even a dragon queen through her grief. Days passed slowly. Iron explored the ruins while Velarix rested nearby. Sometimes he brought her small items he found, pieces of metal shaped like toys, remnants of old machinery, even a tiny crystal that reflected the sun. He placed them carefully before her, not as gifts, but as signs of connection. Velarix observed everything. She listened to his heartbeat in the quiet, felt his courage in the still air, and slowly, she began to remember what it meant to feel hope. "You remind me of what life can be," she said one evening, watching the sun dip behind distant mountains of black stone. "I have ruled galaxies, fought empires, and survived centuries of loss. And yet, you have taught me more than any battle ever could." "I'm just a boy," Iron said. "But, maybe that's enough. Maybe being small doesn't mean being powerless." Velarix considered him. "You are more than small. You are a lesson, a challenge, a bridge between what is lost and what may yet be found. I cannot replace my child, but I can honor them by choosing this path. By choosing you." Iron blinked. "Me?" "Yes," she said. "You are the one I choose. Not as a replacement, not as a weapon, not as a tool. You are the one I choose to walk beside. To endure with. To carry hope with me." The boy's face lit up with something simple, powerful, and real: trust. He reached up, placing a small hand against her scaled muzzle, and Velarix lowered her great head until their eyes met. In that moment, words were unnecessary. Connection was enough. "The galaxy will notice eventually," she said softly. "They will see a human walking with a dragon queen. And they will not understand at first. They will think it impossible. Then we'll show them," Iron said. "Not with fire, not with fear. But with life. With endurance. With courage." Velarix exhaled slowly, warm air brushing the stone around them. "Yes," she thought. "We will show them that strength is not only in power. That courage can be quiet. That life can endure even when the stars seem empty." The sun sank fully, leaving the black stones glowing faintly under a soft gray sky. Velarix wrapped one wing slightly around Iron, careful not to touch him too harshly. The gesture was subtle, protective, and human in its simplicity. And Iron did not move. He only leaned slightly closer, feeling the presence of something far greater than himself, yet gentle enough to allow trust. The galaxy would watch. Fleets would move. Empires would calculate. They would measure fire, weapons, and fleets. But they could not measure courage. They could not measure endurance. They could not measure the quiet, steady bond between a small human boy and a dragon queen who had chosen life over grief, hope over despair, and connection over solitude. Velarix tilted her head, golden eyes reflecting the stars as they slowly appeared. "You are not just a human," she said. "You are a choice. A new path. A lesson the galaxy may one day learn." "I'll try to live up to that," Iron said softly. "And I will try to follow you," she replied. "Not as a queen commanding subjects, but as a companion walking beside a brave, small human. Together, we endure. Together, we live." And so, on the black stone of a dead world, with ash rising like gentle smoke around them, a dragon queen and a human boy began a journey that no empire could stop, no fleet could command, and no galaxy could fully understand. They had survived loss, defied fear, and chosen life together. In the quiet that followed, Velarix Thren knew, finally, that she was no longer alone. And Iron Callow, small, human, and brave, had found a dragon queen who would never abandon him, just as he had never abandoned the courage to stand and endure. Across the stars, the galaxy would learn something new. Humans do not conquer dragons with fire. They survive beside them. And in surviving, they teach the universe a different kind of strength. The child the dragon queen had chosen was small, but his heart was enough. And together, they would endure forever.